Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at how we can organize quantitative data using the same idea of a relative frequency distribution. So again, relative frequency distributions are used to organize both qualitative and quantitative data by listing the data values that we see with the frequency and the relative frequency, which is a decimal or percentage, that the values occur. However, when it comes to quantitative data, we often have a very large variation in the values that we see. So we don't want to list every single individual value that we see because that doesn't really help us organize the data. What we end up seeing is a table with a long list of numbers. The frequencies are mostly ones or twos and very small relative frequencies. And it doesn't really organize the data any more than just having the original data set in a chart that we had originally. So what we use instead to help organize the data are something called classes. Classes are groups that we can use to group together the quantitative data when we have a large variation of numbers. And so the classes are ranges of data values that make sense with the data that we have. So sometimes we would take our data and say, you know what, instead of listing out every single number, maybe it would make more sense for me to go by twos or fives or tens or 50s or hundreds. It really just depends on what the data is that you are working with. So the class width is a very important piece of these classes. And the class width is the difference between the first value in one class and the first value in the next class, the consecutive class. This difference, the difference between the first number in each row or the first number in each class, must be the same throughout the entire distribution. So if I decide, you know what, I'm going to go by fives through my table, and then I see, oh, I've got a really big gap in the numbers, I can't say, I'm just going to go by 50s so that I can jump down to this next number and then start going by fives again. Not allowed. Once you decide to go by fives, you got to go by fives through the whole table. So the class width is really important because we want to make sure that it is the same throughout the entire distribution. So let's go ahead and make one of these tables using classes. So here we have a set of exam scores with a sample of 20 students and the scores that they got on their final exam. So looking at this data set, I can see it looks like the lowest number was, I think, a 50, and the highest number was a 100. I don't see anything lower than a 50. So going by each individual number that I see would not help me with this distribution at all. So instead, we're going to use classes. And because we're talking about exam scores in this case, exam scores, a lot of times it's useful to go by tens because we know that if you got a 70 on an exam, that means that you got a C, but a 69 would be a D. So going by tens can show the difference between one letter grade and another letter grade. You could also go by fives, and there's nothing wrong by going by fives. What I don't recommend is going by a weird number like 7 or even weirder like 3.2. Don't make your life harder. It's already hard enough as it is. Let's try and make things easier. So we're going to go by an easier number for our groups and our classes, not a harder number. So just like we started before, I'm going to create my 3 columns. So I have exam score, I have frequency, and I have relative frequency, which I am going to shorthand to RF. And I'm going to make my table, and I'll do some of the other pesky little things that I like to do in my tables as I'm making it. Wow, that one got crazy. All right, here we go. So I've decided I'm going to go by tens. The easiest way to do this, and I've done it a lot of different ways over the years, the easiest way for me to do this is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the first number in each row first. So if I'm going by tens, that means this is going to be 50, and then the first number in the next row is going to be 60. So that difference, this difference is 10. And this is that class width that I was talking about. And then I'm going to go down another one and do 70 and 80 and 90. And we do have to do 100 because there was a score of 100 on this exam. So that is the first number in each of these classes. So now I need to put a dash in here. I forgot what the word was for a second, indicating what the next number would be. And I'm going to leave the 100 for last. We'll talk about that one in a second. So this first group would be 50 through, I can't put 60 here. So if I put 60 here, then if I have a score of exactly 60, I'm going to be asking the question, does 60 go here or does it go here? Because I see it twice. So what I want to do instead is go one less than the first number in the next row. So this is going to be all of the scores from 50 to 59. And then the next row is 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89. And hopefully you can see that now we have a pattern going. Just going to rewrite that. And then I said I was going to leave this last one 100. We only have one score in this particular table of a 100. But when you get to this last one, if you have just one or two scores that are at that top number or above, and let's say they're really, potentially really up there, and you don't want to keep doing lots of rows of your table to get there, what you can do is you can do 100 plus. And this just captures anyone who has a score of 100 or higher. And in this case, that's great because that's anyone who got all of the points or any of the bonus points on this particular exam. I don't know if there were bonus points on their exam. Nobody scored over 100. And then anyone below that, that's where we really want to see those 10-point increments. Knowing what your data represents is really important to know whether or not it makes sense to do this 100 plus, or if it would have made more sense for me to do 100 to 109, which I also could have done in this case. Okay. Now, before I move on, I do just want to show one alternative way that I could have written these, and I'm just going to do it next to it. This is not something that I tend to do a lot, but it is displayed a lot. So this first row, instead of doing 50 to 59, what I could have done is a hard bracket 50 to 60, and then done a parenthesis next to it. This reads the same way. This says I'm going to include 50, and I'm going to go all the way up to 60, but I'm not going to include 60. And this is actually going to become really important when we move on to the visualization. So hard bracket 60 up to, but not including the 70. So this is just another way that we can see these classes written. And just know that wherever the hard bracket is, we are including that number in this row. And wherever the parenthesis is, the number next to the parenthesis is not being included. Anything up to that number is included. And this notation is really, really helpful whenever we have decimals, because then that just captures everything up to that number, including anything with decimals. So this would be 90 up to, but not including 100. And then this one would be 100 to, I guess you could say, infinity. I've never actually seen that. So this is where we would have to do, whoopsies, 110. I've never actually seen them write infinity. So two methods of doing these classes where the class width is 10, because notice the first number in all of these rows has a difference of 10 to the first number in the row next to it. And I make sure that I set that up by just doing the first number in each of the rows first, and then I figure out what does the second number need to be. So now I can figure out the frequencies. Now that I figured out what my groups are, that makes figuring out the frequencies a whole lot easier. So the first row is anyone who scored between a 50 to a 59. So anyone in the 50s. So we've got this person here and this person here, and I don't see any more 50s. This is the part where I tend to mess up a lot. I see 2. 60 to 69. So all of my 60s, I've got 1 here, 2. Again, I see 2. 70 to 79. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 80 to 89. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 5. 90 to 99. 1, 2. I think there's 2. And then my 100, there's 1. Okay. And then just like we do with qualitative data, we're going to put a last row in here for the total, and we're going to add this frequency column up to make sure that it sums to 20, because that's how many scores we have. So we have 4 plus 8 is 12, plus 5 is 17, plus 2 is 19, plus 1. We've got 20. So the sum is 20. And also looking back at my data set, I have a little mark next to every single number. So that tells me I did not mess up. So now for my relative frequencies, we calculate this exactly the same way that we did for qualitative data. So 2 divided by 20, that is 0.1, which is the same as 10%. I'm not going to write down the next one's fraction because it's the exact same thing. And again, we don't need to show this fraction every single time or at all, really. I'm just doing it so that you guys can see where I'm doing or where I'm getting these numbers from. So 8 over 20 is 0.4 or 40%. 5 over 20 is 0.25 or 25%. We have another 2 over 20, so that's 0.1 or 10%. And then 1 over 20 is 0.05, which is 5%. And we want to do our check again. So we want to make sure that our decimals add up to 1, which we have 40, 30, they do. So this adds up to 1. And then our percentages should add up to 100%, and they do. And again, if it's a teeny tiny bit off because of rounding, that's okay. And I'm going to make a note here. When you have rounding on your relative frequencies, a good general rule of thumb, this is not a hard and fast rule, but a good general rule of thumb for rounding on your relative frequencies is to have 3 decimals on the decimal. So that's rounding to the 1,000th. That way, when you turn it into a percentage, your percentage has 1 decimal. So for example, let me come down just a little bit. If we had to do 7 divided by 30, which I used to know off the top of my head, but I don't anymore, so I need to grab my calculator, which I do not have in front of me. Let me just do this on here real quick. 7 divided by 30 is 0.233333 repeating forever and ever. Like that, forever and ever and ever. When I write this in the chart, if I want to write out the decimal for this, I would write 0.233. If I was doing the percentage, that would leave me with 23.3%. This is a general guide on the best practice for rounding. It is not a hard and fast rule. But that is an example of how you can do a relative frequency distribution for quantitative data.